Let's take a step back and rethink this. Why are none of the public sectors in Nigeria actually working? Because this explains the real problem why Nigeria keeps budgeting and still not working. So let me take you through the 2025 budget. So in 2025, Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed a budget of 54.99 trillion. Security got 6.85 trillion. Infrastructure got 5.42 trillion. Education got 2.83 trillion. Agriculture got 2.25 trillion. And so if you listen to those numbers, you will think Nigeria should be working by now. But here is where the real story begins because in Nigeria, what is being budgeted is not what is released. So that is to say, what is announced is never what is funded. Now listen carefully. Out of the 23.96 trillion, which was meant for capital projects, and when we talk about capital project, we're talking about things like roads, hospitals, power, schools. By the third quarter of 2025, which is towards September, only 17% was released. 17%. That means over 80% of the planned development never left paper. So by the end of that year, even the government itself admitted that only 30% of what they announced would be released. That means that the remaining 70% was pushed into 2026. That is like a spillover or you say a rollover. And so now think about it this way. You budget for roads, but you don't release money. You budget for hospitals, you do not fund them. You budget for power, you did not execute it. Then the next year, you come back and you budget for them again. So let me ask you a simple question. Is Nigeria failing because of plans? Absolutely not. Now let us further understand this conversation. Let us consider one public sector under this administration, which to me is the most important, which is health. To understand what I'm saying, let us consider the 2025 appropriation for healthcare. In 2025, Bola Ahmed Tinubu approved 2.83 trillion naira for healthcare. 2.83 trillion naira for healthcare, which of course is lots of money. Now let us open up as to what this money was supposed to do. So 1.2 trillion naira was meant for salaries, like for staff salaries. 1.12 trillion naira was for capital projects, which includes hospitals, equipment, upgrades, and all that. 49 billion naira was for running costs, which is like electricity, maintenance, and all that. And also 452 billion naira was for other health related allocations. So the real part that should change our lives is the part I consider the capital projects, which are the hospitals, the equipment, the healthcare infrastructure. This was inside the 1.12 trillion, which is meant for capital projects. So the second part I'll love you to listen to. Now, here's where the reality inside this capital project actually is. A key portion, which is about 218 billion, was meant for actual projects under this Ministry of Health, which is things like fixing the hospitals, buying equipment, building cancer centers. Now listen carefully. Out of that 218 billion naira, only 36 million naira was released. Now, let me simplify this gap. 218 billion naira was planned. 36 million naira was released. That is about 0.016%, not even up to 1%. Let's translate this to real life to further understand this. If you plan to spend 100,000 naira on your health and you ended up spending 16 naira, that's exactly what happened. So what does this mean? It means that hospitals were not upgraded, projects were not moved. Maybe they will say they paid salaries, but what kind of a system runs like that? A system where workers are funded, let's say they even paid salaries because at the point doctors went on strike. But the system itself abandoned what was important. Which are the tools to make this project work? Now let us be clear. It is not the entire 2.83 trillion naira that became 36 million naira. No. The 36 million naira is specifically for capital projects under this ministry. And here is the real issue. This is the part that actually improves healthcare. Because what this administration does very well is announce big numbers, project big figures, but it struggles with execution. And this is just one unit we've looked at under capital projects. And if this is what it looks like here, then it only tells you that other sectors are suffering from the same fate, if not worse. Even within what was allocated to salaries, it will not be shocking if ghost workers are quietly taking a significant share of that money. So when you step back and look at the full picture, this is a system where outcomes does not match intentions. And that is why no public sector in this Tinubu's administration is actually working, not because they were not planned for, but because they were set up to fail. It is a truth at a time. Take care and have a nice day.